Have you ever noticed how anxiety can sneak up on us sometimes slowly, like clouds gathering before a storm, and other times all at once, like a sudden downpour? Maybe your heart starts racing for no clear reason. Your thoughts whirl and spin, making it impossible to find stillness, even for a moment. If that sounds familiar, I want you to know you're not alone. Many of us have felt powerless in those moments, overwhelmed by worry or fear. But what if I told you within that experience there's a quiet doorway to something much deeper? Over the years, through mindful observation, both my own and from guiding others, I've realized that anxiety isn't just an enemy to be fought. Sometimes, it's a messenger reminding us to pause, to listen gently to our inner world. In today's journey together, I'll share 5 gentle and mindful practices rooted in ancient wisdom and modern understanding methods I've personally seen transform restless anxiety into genuine calm. These aren't quick fixes, but small, compassionate steps that can help anyone rebuild a sense of inner safety and clarity. So as we begin, I invite you to be present, just as you are, and ask yourself, what if I could meet my anxiety with a little more kindness today? Let's explore this path to calm together. Approach 1. Acknowledge without judgment. Let's start with the very first step on this journey from anxiety to inner peace, gentle acknowledgement. Now I want to invite you to simply notice the feelings that arise without jumping in to fix, chase, or push them away. Too often, when anxiety creeps in, our first impulse is resistance. Maybe you catch yourself thinking, I can't stand this anymore, or why is this happening to me? The mind tries to slam the door on uncomfortable feelings, but the more we resist, the louder anxiety knocks. What if, instead, we pause and offer ourselves kind awareness? Close your eyes, take a soft breath, and say quietly to yourself, I'm feeling anxious right now, and that's okay. Allow these words to echo, even if they feel unfamiliar at first. We're not labeling ourselves as an anxious person. We're not criticizing or arguing with the experience. We're simply noticing what is present, meeting it like a guest at the door. This approach is deeply rooted in the ancient Vipassana meditation tradition. In Vipassana, we learn to observe every sensation, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, without clinging to it or trying to push it away. In Buddhist wisdom, there's a beautiful teaching. Whatever is felt is within suffering, but by knowing it clearly, one is freed. What does this mean? It means that suffering often grows in the shadows when we're too afraid to look directly at it. But gently shining a light of awareness, with no judgment, allows that suffering to soften and loosen its grip. Let me share a little story from my own life. There was a time when I faced anxiety every morning before big presentations. My heart would pound. My mind would jump to worst-case scenarios. For years, I fought these feelings, telling myself, you shouldn't be nervous. Get over it. But the more I rejected what I felt, the worse it became. Everything changed the day I decided to just acknowledge, yes, I'm anxious right now. It's uncomfortable. But I'm still okay. I learned to sit with it, just notice it, like watching waves rise and fall on a quiet lake. And you know what? The anxiety faded so much faster when I stopped running from it. Maybe ask yourself gently, right now, what am I feeling in my body? Am I willing to let this feeling exist, just for a moment, without fighting it? Often, you'll find that the simple act of acknowledgement without any judgment brings an unexpected sense of relief. Think about it. When a friend comes to you in distress, would you ignore them or yell at them to go away? Of course not. You'd offer a patient ear, a gentle presence. You deserve the same compassion from yourself. So, as you notice anxiety arise in your day-to-day life, maybe at work, while driving, or alone at night, try this first practice. Pause, breathe, admit honestly, this is anxiety. And right now, that's just my experience. It may sound simple, but sometimes the simplest practices have the deepest healing. Remember, acknowledgement is not defeat. It's the first step toward understanding, healing, and eventually finding peace. By transforming judgment into gentle acceptance, you begin walking a new path on where anxiety no longer controls your story, but simply becomes a visitor passing through your awareness. Let's move on together, continuing to explore new ways to meet our minds and hearts with deep, patient kindness. Approach 2. Anchor in body and breath. Now, let's dive deeper into the second practice's step that can truly change how you experience anxious moments, anchoring yourself in your body and breath. You know, one of the most curious things about anxiety is that it often pulls us away from the present. Our mind rushes off into what-ifs, worries about tomorrow, next week, or a version of the future that might never even arrive. Our thoughts race ahead, but our body is always here, waiting to bring us home to the now. This is why working with your breath is so powerful. The breath is your ever-present friend, your most intimate anchor to this moment. No matter how wild or tangled your thoughts become, you can always return to the gentle rhythm inside you. When anxiety starts to bubble up, here's a practice I'd love for you to try, something backed by ancient wisdom and modern science alike. First, find a comfortable spot. Place one hand on your chest and the other gently on your belly. As you breathe in slowly through your nose, count to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath gently for another 4 counts. Then exhale through your mouth, letting the air out for a count of 6 long and slow, like the tide rolling back from the shore. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. As you breathe, notice the rise and fall beneath your hands like gentle waves moving in and out. This is called embodied mindfulness. Neuroscientists have discovered that deep, slow breathing isn't just relaxing, it actually helps calm your nervous system, bringing your body and mind back into balance. When you send your awareness to your physical sensations, the temperature of your skin, the movement of your breath, you take away power from anxious thoughts and give it back to your sense of presence. Of course, thoughts may still wander in. That's perfectly normal. The mind loves to chatter. If worries or memories pop up, simply notice them without frustration or judgment. Then, with kindness, invite your focus back to the soft rising and falling of your breath. Think of it like training a gentle puppy. If it strays, gently guide it home again and again. I often compare the breath to a lighthouse in the middle of a stormy sea. No matter how heavy the waves, the lighthouse stands firm, guiding us, offering safety and light. Your breath is there for you in the same way. I remember during one deeply stressful period, I would pause, put my hand on my heart, and just breathe this way for a few minutes. Each time, I felt a subtle shift, a melting of tension, a doorway to peace opening up inside me. So, next time anxiety pulls you away from yourself, return to your breath. Place your hands, breathe deep, and remind yourself, the present moment is always big enough to hold whatever you're feeling. This simple act is a quiet revolution away of saying, I'm here, I'm breathing, and right now that is enough. Let's keep going, step by gentle step, building an inner sanctuary where calm and clarity can flourish even in the heart of anxiety. Maybe ask yourself gently, right now, what am I feeling in my body? Am I willing to let this feeling exist just for a moment without fighting it? Often, you'll find that the simple act of acknowledgement without any judgment brings an unexpected sense of relief. Think about it. When a friend comes to you in distress, would you ignore them or yell at them to go away? Of course not. You'd offer a patient ear, a gentle presence. You deserve the same compassion from yourself. So as you notice anxiety arise in your day-to-day life, maybe at work, while driving, or alone at night, try this first practice. Pause, breathe, admit honestly, this is anxiety. And right now, that's just my experience. It may sound simple, but sometimes the simplest practices have the deepest healing. Remember, acknowledgement is not defeat. It's the first step toward understanding, healing, and eventually finding peace. By transforming judgment into gentle acceptance, you begin walking a new path on where anxiety no longer controls your story, but simply becomes a visitor passing through your awareness. Let's move on together, continuing to explore new ways to meet our minds and hearts with deep, patient kindness. Approach 3. Name the thought, don't become it. Let's explore a practice that, for many people, becomes a real turning point on the path to peace. Learning to name your thoughts rather than becoming them. It's amazing how anxiety can disguise itself as the voice of truth. It often comes wrapped in stories like, "Something must be wrong," or "I'm not good enough." These thoughts can sound so convincing, can't they? Before you know it, you might start believing them, letting them shape your mood and even your sense of self. But here's a gentle truth that can change everything. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who observes them. Think about that for a moment. There's a quiet awareness within you, a sky of consciousness, vast and unchanging, even as thoughts drift by like clouds. The practice we're about to try comes from both Buddhist wisdom and modern therapy, and it's all about creating space in the mind. When an anxious thought appears, see if you can gently name it without getting pulled in. For example, you might say to yourself, "I'm noticing a worried thought," or "There's anxiety speaking." In psychology, this is called cognitive diffusion, and the goal is to unstick yourself from your thought so you don't automatically accept them as fact or let them pull you under. I remember a time when I kept thinking, "I'm going to mess this up." The old me would get lost in that story, feeling smaller and smaller. But as I learned to pause and say, I'm having the thought that I might mess things up, it was like putting distance between myself and the anxiety. Suddenly, the thought was just a thought knot, a prophecy. And with that distance, I discovered freedom to choose a kinder response. This practice isn't about banishing thoughts or winning an argument with your mind. Instead, it's about recognizing that thoughts are just mental events, impermanent, ever-changing. As the Buddha once taught, all thoughts are like clouds passing through the open sky, sometimes dark and stormy, sometimes light and peaceful, but the sky itself stays untouched and clear. Your awareness, that open sky within, is always bigger than any one thought. If you want to try this now, the next time you catch yourself tangled in anxious thinking, pause, label it. "That's an anxious thought," or "Worry is present." You can even get playful, imagining each thought as a cloud floating by her, as the voice of a radio announcer you don't have to believe. Let yourself watch these thoughts without judgment, and without the need to solve or argue, and see what happens. Usually, you'll find a little more space inside a breath of fresh air. You realize, I don't have to fuse with every story my mind tells me. So, as we continue, I invite you to carry this with you. You are not your thoughts. You are the open awareness that notices them, calmly and compassionately. And with that, you gain more choice, more peace, and a gentler relationship with yourself and your mind. Approach 4. Shift your state with gentle, intentional action. Now, let's talk about another gentle, yet deeply practical way to work with anxiety, using mindful action to shift your internal state. Have you ever noticed how anxiety has a way of freezing us? It can trap us in endless cycles of overthinking, replaying the same worries over and over in our heads. Sometimes, we spend so much time wrestling with our thoughts that we can forget about the simple power of action. But one of the most healing things you can do when anxiety feels overwhelming is to take a single, intentional step. Not to run away from how you feel, but to gently shift your energy, reminding your body, "Hey, I am still here. I am safe. I am capable." This doesn't have to be anything grand or complicated. In fact, the simpler, the better. Maybe right now, you could try standing up and stretching your arms overhead, feeling into your body with curiosity instead of judgment. Or maybe it's making yourself a cup of tea, noticing the warmth of the mug in your hands and the aroma rising up. You could water a houseplant, Step outside and feel the air on your skin, or slowly tidy up a corner of your space. The true magic happens when you bring your full attention to these actions. In Buddhist monasteries, this is actually a key aspect of daily practice. Monks sweep floors, fold robes, or prepare food not just to get the task done, but as a living meditation. Each movement becomes a way to anchor awareness, to return the mind to the body and the present moment. If you're wondering, does this really work? I can share from my own experience that these mindful moments create powerful shifts. There have been countless times when, caught up in an anxious loop, simply filling a glass of water and drinking it slowly, with all my attention, created a sense of grounding I couldn't find any other way. That act, as small as it seemed, cut through the spiral of thoughts and brought me back to myself. Let's try it together. Think of one small action you can take right now. Can you bring your whole self into that movement, not rushing, not multitasking, just being with what is? Maybe even ask yourself, how does it feel to move my hands, to sense my breath, to connect with the world around me? This is not about escaping your feelings or distracting yourself. Instead, it's about showing up with compassion and reminding yourself that you are not powerless. Gentle, mindful action tells your body, I am present. I choose to care for myself in this moment. So next time you feel anxiety holding you in place, try this. Take one gentle action and let your awareness fill the process. Even the simplest task can become a sanctuary, a way to come home to yourself again and again. Approach 5. End with compassion. Let's come now to what may be the most important practice of all, ending with compassion for yourself. Think about this. When a dear friend is hurting or anxious, most of us instinctively respond with warmth and tenderness. We offer gentle words like, you did your best, or it's okay to feel what you feel. But how often do we extend the same caring attitude inward to ourselves? For so many, especially in the grip of anxiety, our inner dialogue is harsh and unforgiving. We might beat ourselves up for being scared, sensitive, or unable to snap out of it, when in truth, anxiety is not a personal failure, but simply our mind's way of trying to keep us safe. Imagine this. After a wave of anxiety subsides, even just a little, pause for a moment. Place your hand gently over your heart or your belly. Feel the warmth there, the soft rhythm of your own life. And say to yourself, as you would to someone you love most in the world, I am safe now. I did the best I could. It's okay to feel this way. This act, simple as it seems, is known in both modern psychology and Buddhist tradition as self-soothing or metta-loving kindness. It's a practice the Buddha taught over and over. You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your own love and affection. For me, this has become a life-changing ritual. There have been countless times when I felt disappointed that anxiety showed up again, as if I'd somehow gone backward on my path. But those were the moments I needed compassion the most, not waiting until I was fearless or fixed, but offering care to myself right in the middle of the storm. Each time, it softened the pain and brought a tender kind of courage. It reminded me I was human, and being human is always enough. If you like, you can even write down a few phrases that comfort you and keep them somewhere close, a sticky note in your wallet, or a gentle reminder by your bed. Whenever anxiety returns, return also to these words. They're not magic spells that make everything disappear, but they do give us the strength to walk forward with dignity and grace. Remember, the goal is not to make anxiety vanish completely, but to meet it with courage and kindness, again and again. That in itself is something to honor in yourself. So, next time your mind is swirling and your heart is pounding, pause. Offer yourself the same loving presence you'd give a struggling friend. Remind yourself, I am worthy of compassion. I am doing the best I can. I am still here. Because every moment you meet anxiety with tenderness, you plant a seed of healing that can one day grow into deep, unshakable peace. Conclusion. As we come to the end of this journey together, I want to leave you with a gentle truth, one that so many people need to hear, over and over again. Anxiety is not a sign that you're broken or hopeless. In fact, it's simply proof that you are deeply, beautifully human. Everyone faces storms in their mind. Everyone knows what it's like to feel unsteady or afraid. But with every mindful step we've explored today, you now have tools to help you return to peace, no matter how many times anxiety shows up at your door. Remember these 5 anchors: awareness, breath, space, gentle movement, compassion. When anxious feelings arise, you can pause and simply notice them without judgment. You can come back to your breath, feeling it anchor you in the present moment. You can name your thoughts, reminding yourself that you are not your worries. The real you is the clear sky behind them all. If your mind starts to freeze you in place, you can move, even in the simplest of ways, to remind your body of its strength and presence. And all along, you can wrap this experience in kindness, treating yourself with the same warmth you'd offer a dear friend. In my own life, I've returned to these practices countless times, sometimes dozens of times in a single day. The peace that comes isn't always sudden or absolute, but it is reliable. With each gentle act, you prove to yourself that you can meet whatever comes with courage and care. You're already on the path to healing, step by step, breath by breath. I invite you to reflect for a moment. What was one practice from today's video that you might carry into your life this week? How could you make space for just a few minutes of mindful presence, even during an anxious day? And finally, if you found even a glimmer of support in this message, I encourage you to subscribe so we can keep journeying together. Maybe you know someone who is struggling with anxiety right now, a friend, a family member, even a colleague. Please share this video with them. Sometimes, the smallest light, a kind word, a gentle reminder can help guide us home when we feel lost. Thank you for sharing your time and heart with me today. No matter what you're facing, may you always remember, you have the power to return to peace, again and again,